It's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, back for the 15th season of the Kalm Report and the Rough Cuts. And we're going to try to run around and look at some art. And we're going to start out here at Boesky East and make a run-through of Hannah van Bart, Places and Beings. This is titled Der Wunder kann uns nicht mehr schaden. 2019 oil on linen, 27 by 19. Well, okay, it says here that this is the sixth show that Hannah van Bart has had here at the gallery, and I might have wandered through and seen one or two other ones a couple of years ago. I was impressed with this. This piece is titled Girl, 2019. Partially it's because, well, we've been looking at a lot of women painters lately, and particularly women figurative painters. And I think one of the things that kind of attracted me to this show is the kind of Neo-Expressionism, the kind of link to traditional painting and expressionism. This piece is titled Die Nacht Redet, 2019 oil and linen. And I think Hannah is kind of a good example of someone that's maintaining a kind of a painterly legacy, but within that realm she's playing around with a lot of various periods of art history, various tropes. She's obviously pretty competent. You can see some of her rendering is nice. Also, this is titled The Room. I think the way that she leaves a lot of the painting almost approaching an unfinished state is nice. It's titled The Place. There's a lot of, well, I wouldn't say controversy, but maybe conversations about the place of figurative painting, at least in New York, versus abstract painting. A lot of people are kind of playing on that edge. Sometimes they go more one way, sometimes more another way. And I think the other part that's, for me, is kind of interesting is the kind of historical narrative that is being played out. A lot of people think that New York is a very open and tolerant place for art, which, well, isn't exactly true. There's a certain group of people and institutions and, well, of course, the marketing end of things that are kind of pushing certain historical narratives. Und morgen früh ist alles verflossen. Something about in the morning early, everything is, I don't know, maybe that's frosty, I'm not sure. Anyway, so there was a big move back in the 80s and 90s with the pictures generation and the Neo-Geo painters, and even at that point the post-conceptual artists, people like Jeff Koons, Meyer Weissman, Peter Haley, they were putting on a full court press to kind of shut out any kind of painterly or expressionistic practices. And anyway, it's been interesting to see how over time it seems like the I guess what you would say the Trans-Avantgarde, the Neo-Expressionists have started to make maybe it's not the same crew, but it's a similar concept, similar approach, going back to a more romantic, unformalistic, sensual kind of painting. And I guess that would be expressed in the market just looking at the prices of if you were to compare a Peter Haley at auction to a Jean-Michel Basquiat, you can probably see why certain forces have changed people's outlooks of what isn't contemporarily valid. Kind of like this one, Face to Face 2018. I think Hannah is a pretty good painter, has a nice touch. There's a certain kind of an echo maybe of even Philip Guston. And of course, says she's Amsterdam based. There's also a link to a lot of the German neo-expressionists, people like George Baselitz. Dark Recollections, 45 by 37. And yeah, a lot of this could pass as kind of abstract expressionism if you just kind of fade out parts of the dog. This is Girl, 2019. It's 21 and 5/8 by 17 3/4. So let's just say 22 by 18. I like Hannah's kind of muted palettes, and I don't know, I look at something like this and I kind of am reminded of maybe a Franz Hals portrait. Ghost 2018, 45 by 37. I'm also kind of looking at this and thinking about Per Kirkby, who is one of the maybe lesser known, at least lesser known in America, of the Neue Wilden painters. Yeah, I like these passages here of the off-white. This is Home 2018-2019 oil on linen, 51 by 39. Oh gosh, we've even got our little windmill. Well, as I was saying, I was kind of interested in some of the people that they're exhibiting here on 24th Street this week. And so I guess Hannah would be one of the Dutch painters, although her titles, a lot of them are in German. I don't know, maybe she has spent time in Germany. This also makes me think a little bit of James Ensor. The Observer 2019 oil and linen, 21 by 17. Well, she uses a similar device in one of the previous portraits we've looked at, which is the striped backgrounds, kind of having the figure dressed in a pattern that echoes the wallpaper. And that's kind of nice. Everything is mushy except for the nose. As if the depth of field was causing the rest of the face to fuzz out. Woman seated. This is very reminiscent of a Van Gogh. The Ghost 2019. Okay, it's getting late. We're going to have to hurry through the rest of this. Again, well, there's a lot of Pettimetti here. And kind of the pushing the palette into this kind of liver pink always makes me think of Guston. The Observer. I think this might be the most draftsman-y, the painting that is mostly drawing here. Let's see how she lays out her figure and then fills in some of the space with her smeary brush strokes. This is Friend 2018, 43 by 33. I was noticing that a lot of her figures are kind of casually holding cigarettes or smoking. titled The Confidant, 19 by 17. And yeah, actually the hands are pretty nice. I think Oskar Kokoschka was always someone that I thought could get hands to express a lot. This is an interesting, kind of funny painting. The castle. So we've got our ravens and a cat head. 19 by 17. Irrlicht. Yeah, her palette is kind of unusual. It's kind of a lot of tertiary colors and then a lot of graying and tinning down her colors. A lot of various kinds of greens in there. I'm going to wrap up looking at this one, another funny painting. Whisperer, 2019 oil and 37 by 35. Again, we've got our little critter in the snow. You see, this device of the snowflakes is a very interesting treatment. James Kalm reporting on Hanne van Bart, Places and Beings. Here at Marianne Boesky Gallery. We're going to roll on and try to get one more gallery in. Stay tuned. Well, now we're here on Walker Street. We're going to run into BORTOLAMI and check out a show that I thought was pretty tasty. By Mary Obering. It's the Window series from 1973. Yes, well, I'm a fan of color field painting, minimal painting, kind of reductive abstraction. And I think this show of Mary's is a good example of that kind of work. And, well, there's some interesting aspects to this show. This is titled Window Series Number 1. And these paintings are all from 1973. This is acrylic on canvas, 84 by 60 inches. Well, I was reading the press release and they talk about Mary as I think she was a Southern girl, maybe born in Louisiana, and arrived in Soho in the early 70s and bought a raw loft. And gosh, I guess it must be 50 years later, she's still there in the same loft. One of the things I like about this is that, yeah, these paintings are actually almost like free-hanging banners. This is window series number 5, 1973. This is 96 by 96, so we've got an 8-foot square here. And, well, Mary's got a wonderful color sense. But as I was saying, these pieces have all been probably stored in her loft since 1973. Yeah. So these blocks of color are just free-hanging sections of painted cotton duck. And in this case, she's just even layering them so that the top edge of the canvas would be like the spine of a spiral notebook. Oop. This is titled Window Series number 2, 1973. This is also 8-foot square. Mary's got a very fine sense of being able to slice her colors. It's like the warm purple against the cooler purple. And this is an example of what I was talking about, the kind of the layering of these sheets of color. So, yeah, this olive green sheet is in the back, and all of these other ones are stacked up on top. Well, it says that I guess Mary came here and was involved with some of the more conceptual and minimal artists, and that she was actually encouraged to pursue her ideas of reductive abstractions by people like Carl Andre. He may not be a fashionable person to have on your resume these days, but he was a very influential person here in Soho in the 70s. And again, we got some nice variations between the salmon pink, kind of a liver maroon, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow deep. And I was going to say, these pieces look extremely fresh considering how, well, old, and also the fact that everything is kind of flapping in the breeze. It's Window Series number 4, 1973 acrylic on canvas, 96 by 96. And, well, there's nothing like an 8-foot square. That's a real painting. Let's see if we can see what. So she's got the initial pages, the initial strips are nailed on there with finishing nails at the top. There's also something nice about the little stray threads of cotton that sort of come up on the edge. As I said, I'm always fascinated with the edges of forms, the edges of color, how someone approaches the edge, thinks about the edge. It's a really nice color. I also like what these diagonal ends on these forms do to the reading of the space. And yeah, I also like the sense of collage. But it's not like a pasted down collage. It's like just taking your color samples, your color forms, and sort of laying them out temporarily to see whether or not they work. So there's a real kind of ephemeral sense to these. Let's look at the collages. This is untitled, acrylic on paper, 14 by 22. Very understated. And I've got to think that Mary had to be thinking about and maybe looking at people like Bryce Martin, Richard Nonis, maybe. This is called Cerulean Clothes. Rose Clothes, 1973. This is a monoprint and collage on paper. Deep Purple Fall. This is pretty much the same format as the paintings. This is also a monoprint. Black Dive, 19 by 17. Untitled. Okay, she gets a lot of mileage out of those grays. Couple of beautiful little pieces. Untitled, monoprint and collage on canvas. Okay, these last two really made me think of maybe Paul Klee and very Matisse-ian colors. Untitled, 1973. James Kalm. We've been taking a little strolling glance at Mary Obering window series at BORTOLAMI. You can like this, share, subscribe, recommend it to your friends, link it up to your social media sites, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and reviews below. We just ask you to say, thank you, Kate. Whoa. All right, thank you. Thank you very much.